And so, guys, I want to welcome you. We've been here. If you've missed the last couple of weeks, we've been doing a series called In the World. And if you can read, if you got 2020, you got eagle eyes. All right, the subtitle says Connecting Without Compromising Your Faith. So we've been looking at this idea, trying to understand. All right, we sing about this God that wants a relationship with us, and so many of us have. Maybe some of you want to know, you hear about it, and that's why you're here, or you're curious for whatever it is. Right? And so sometimes it's, all right, how does the songs that we sing, how can we make them a lifestyle that we live? Right? How can everything that we sing here sounds nice, feels great, but when the song is done, the service is over, and you're alone, then what? Right? Then what? That's what we're talking about. So we're trying to say when it's all said and done, how can you still connect with God out in the real world every day, no matter where you are, school, home, Walmart, this and that, whatever it is? How can you still connect with God without compromising your faith? Or one way that we've been saying it is, how can you remain faithful in faithless environments? Because we know some of you from talking to you, you know that, hey, and right now, by the way, you know, for some of us, for maybe a big chunk of us, by now, you know, we just had, you know, a camp a couple months, about almost a month ago. And you are about to, if you haven't felt it yet, you should have entered, all right, re-entered the atmosphere for those of us that we did. And so life is kind of getting normal, right? And this and that. And so what now when the emotions aren't there? Man, this whole thing is being all right? What now when the emotions aren't there? What now? Right? How can you keep things going? How can you be faithful even when you don't feel it? By the way, do you think you can do that? Is that even possible? Can you be faithful and not have the feelings? Right? Not have the good feelings, not the Drake feelings, the other feelings. Like the good feelings, the positive goosebumps, right? When you get the butterflies and all that stuff. Like, can you still be faithful without the feelings? And that's what we're talking about. And so for some of you, hopefully we were answering this question that some of you guys have. Like, hey, I got, you know, when I'm in school, like sometimes it's hard for Christians, and if you want to be a Christian, how to navigate the world, right? Like what's clean, what's not clean. Like, yo, what's out of bounds, right? What's out of bounds for me, and what's okay still? You know, like, I'm looking at this, and I don't see certain things, right? And so is this cool? Can I do this? Can I listen to that? Can I eat this? Can I have that? Can I do this? Can I go here? And so all of that, guys, all of that, I understand it could be a lot, and that's why we want to be here for you. So we're trying to answer that question. When you are in this world, how can you still connect to God and not compromise your faith and not do things that can cause you to lose all that God has given you or fail to even experience it? So here's, I'm going to point it to you in one way. All right, guys, I'm pretty sure this is everybody, so I'm pretty sure we'll all kind of be on, you know, solid ground. Has anyone ever been pushed and you got knocked over? You ever fallen? All right, you ever, like, somebody straight pushed you and you fell, or you bumped into somebody and you fell? Anybody got one of those? Anybody got into a shoving match? Anybody do shoving matches anymore? You know what I'm saying? Like when you get up to somebody and be like, yo, you know, they hit you. That's a different shoving match, right? You ever been in a shoving match and somebody be like, hey, bro, hey, and just keeps on going back and forth? You ever been hit so hard that you fell? Anybody? You ever done that? You ever been so hard that you fell down? Have you ever been running or you bumped into somebody? Or look, I'm notorious for this. I bump into like the door jams like all the time. Like I cut those corners so hard, and I hit the door jams, and sometimes I fall or whatever. All right, every time, I don't know, it's like it's there, you know, and I hit door jams all the time. Listen, all right, maybe you've never been pushed around physically. Have you ever been pushed mentally, emotionally? For example, have you ever been bullied? Right? Has anyone ever talked junk about you or said something to you that shook you? Let's be honest. I think everybody has at some point. Somebody has said something about the way you talk, the way you look, the way you this, the way you act. And then it shook you. Some of you got knocked down so hard you're still down. And you just don't want to admit it. You're still smiling, just making it, but you're still down. Right? I know what that's like. You get pushed like that. And so why does that happen? This is why I got a little sumo thing. Right? Because sometimes, you know, when we get bullied and pushed around emotionally, physically, right, what happens is, why did it affect you? It's because whatever the lie was, or whatever the comment was, whatever the observation was bigger than your view of yourself. Right? And so if whatever they said about you was this, yet your view of yourself is this, boom, you can get wrecked. right? And then here you got all, your insecurities just be, flapping around. By the way, look at this other one. Who do you think's going to win this battle? Who do you think's going to win that one?
The kid.
Right? No, look, unless the kid's strapped or something, right? Just, he got it down on his diaper or whatever, right? That's the only way he's going to win that one. Look, who's going to win that one? Obviously the bigger one. And so, guys, we got kids, we got you, friends. You guys know it. Adults, sometimes adults don't grow out of this. Adults still can be petty. Adults can be crazy petty and be the craziest bullies, right? It just goes that way. And so, who's going to win this battle? Whatever is bigger, right? And so, if people's view, if you value other people's view of you more than your own view of yourself, man, you're going to be tossed around back and forth, and you're never going to know who you are. But see, here's the thing, guys. The little one is not us. Like, if you are a believer in Jesus Christ, if you've accepted God, you've given him your heart like we were talking about, he's forgiven you of your sins, you've been made new, guess what? That's not you, that's you. Yeah. Your enemy is the other one. Your enemy is the one who has to try to play mind games to trip you up, because they know they can't compete with the God inside of you. Because see, if you know who God is, and you know who you are in him, you realize, hey, it ain't no competition. So can we put the other one back? So now, when the lies come, when somebody tells you, bro, you worthless, you this, you that, you ain't nobody, now you're the big one. Say, no, man, I know that's a lie. I know who I am. I know who I am, and you can take that lie and toss it to the side. Man. You can take whatever people be saying about you, and you know that's not going to affect you, because you know who you are, and so you just take it and toss it. Take it and toss it. Take it and toss it. But see, you won't be able to do that if you don't know who you are. And you'll never know who you really are until you know the God who made you, the God who loves you, the God who died for you. You'll never know who you are. And so we've been looking at this bottom line and in the world, and we've been saying this. See, if you're a believer in Christ, you are still in this world, obviously. We're still sucking air. We're still doing all this, right? If you are in this world, right, you're here, but if you're a believer in Jesus Christ, you are not just in this world. Watch me. Say, I am not of this world. Say that. I am not of this world. We're talking about that. So you can be in this world, but yet not of it. What does that mean? I can be in it, but not of it. That's what we're talking about. That's how you can be faithful in faithless environment. And we've been doing this application, and we've been saying this: keep to your king. Amen. Keep to your king. The God who we're talking about. Because the closer you keep to your king, the more you keep understanding, the more you keep pursuing this king, the more you keep praying to this king, worshiping to this king, the more you pursue and ask and seek out this king is going to show you who he is. And when you get to see who he is, you will truly get to see who you are in him. It's game over after that. Amen. Game over after that. So you'll never get pushed around by people's lies or insecurities or anything else, because you will know who you are. So we're going to look, guys. We've been looking at, we were talking about in the world, not of the world. We've been looking at the story. We've been following a guy named Daniel. And how many buddies have you been here? Real. Okay. There's 4 dudes. Now in the Bible, okay, we're going to read it. I'm going to put the verses up. I'm going to read a section today out of Daniel 6, okay? And so here, we're looking at what God did in Daniel and his 3 friends' lives, okay? And so what's going on, and so right now we're going to be in chapter 6. We're going to read verses 1 through 11. Now, just to catch a couple people up, Daniel, right now where we're at in history, the Israelites, okay, so the Jews, they would stop being faithful to God. Okay? So they said, God, look, we got it. We're good. We're actually living life. Things are all right. We don't need you anymore. Thanks. But, we appreciate it. You brought us this far, but I think we can handle it from here. And so they literally abandoned God. And they started doing and following the gods of the nation. Guys, some of the stuff that they were doing was crazy. They would go to synagogue on Saturday and then go to the pagan places on Fridays and Sundays. And at the pagan places, they would sacrifice kids, like babies. Like they would have like the crazy, they would do worship with some of some of those gods, those sub-gods of the land. some of the worship involved bowel movements, okay? Poop, bro. I was like, they would just literally bring stuff, and it was like disgusting. Like they would take bathroom leftovers and it'd be a part of worship. So it was legit crap what they were doing. You know, it was garbage 100%. And they were killing babies and dumping the stuff and doing the craziest things. And then going to the living God. They thought they could just have it all. But see, what happened was they got conquered. They said, God, we don't need you as king. And you know what happened? Another king took them over. That's part of Babylon. And so Daniel, are now slaves. Daniel and his 3 buddies, Mishael and 2 other Hebrew names that I forgot about. And so they take him over here, and now the new king says, all right, I'm your king now. You follow our ways. Forget the old ways. Those Jewish ways, no, they are no good anymore. Now we got to show you the Babylonian way. Jewish truth, forget Jewish truth. You're going to know Babylonian truth. Now, guys, I want you to know why this is such a big deal. Everything that the Jews did, all of their culture, their practices, their language, all of it was given by God. Like God instituted everything. And everything that God told them to do pointed to who he was so they can understand who they were in him. It was a big deal. I mean, even their names, Daniel, Mishael, and the Hebrew names, all represented an aspect of who God was. And so now they go, we're even going to change your names. You're just going to be Belshazzar and Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego. All of those names, I said this 2 weeks ago, were all connected to demonic Babylonian gods. So they were trying to alter everything. But these 4 guys remained faithful. These 4 guys were getting pushed around by mentally, emotionally, spiritually, yet they took every single hit and didn't budge. They didn't budge. Why? Because it was the God in them. They were the big sumo, and everybody, they were getting pushed around, and it was nothing. Now, we've been only reading, I want to say, Tatiana, did you read chapter 2? What was the one that we read last week?
Chapter 1.
Up to 2 or still chapter 1?
Verse 8 through 20.
You're right. Okay, so, guys, we did for 2 weeks, all right? We did for 2 weeks, all right? Chapter 1. Now we're in chapter 6. So I got to give you this detail. So I want to make sure, if you tweet me, then good. I'm assuming if you're looking down, you tweet me. That's awesome, all right? If not, I want to make sure you got this. Look, only 5 chapters later, the Daniel we've been talking about was your age. You know, teenager, maybe early 20s, we don't know. The Daniel in chapter 6, even though it's 4 chapters removed, there's 40 years that has changed and happened. A lot. Even though it's 14 chapters, when we now talk about Daniel, we're not talking about teenage Daniel. We're talking about over the hill Daniel. We're talking about Daniel who, probably got a bunch of gray hairs by now. And so let's read 1 through 11, and now let's see what's happening, because the same Daniel who was confident, the same Daniel who was bold, the same Daniel who wasn't getting pushed around, now let's see what happens. After living in this country for 40 years, or 30, however long it's been years, decades. Has it changed? Let's watch. So, Daniel 6, 1 through 11. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 110 satraps. By the way, Darius is not the Babylonian king. Babylon got conquered, and now Persia is in charge. And so here we go. That's King Darius. King Darius wants to set up 120 governors throughout the whole nation, throughout the whole kingdom. Over those 120, he was going to set up 3 high officials, of whom, who? Daniel. There's Daniel still. Of whom Daniel was one of the 3, to whom these satraps should give account, so that the king might not suffer loss. Time out. Guys, listen. When a government, even now modern day, when a government takes over another government, you don't let people who's working in that government work for you. You kill those guys. And here, Daniel is still employed. And not only employed, he is considered one of the best people. And Persia's like, no, don't kill that guy. I've heard a lot about him. I want to keep him. Let's keep on looking. He says here, then Daniel became so distinguished above the other high officials and satraps, because, watch this, what is it, guys? Can you read it? An excellent what? Spirit was on him. And the king planned to set Daniel over the whole kingdom. Bro, vice president of the kingdom. All right? That's Daniel now. Vice president of Persia. The rookie, the guy who just showed up, the guy was like, hey, we conquered, we're taking over. Yeah, you new guy, you're going to be vice president. And that's why, that's crazy. Look at why, what was it? Check it out. Then the high officials The high officials and the satraps sought to find ground for complaint against Daniel with regard to the kingdom. Ain't it like that? Then when things are going good, you got somebody, somebody wants to, be at you, right, or try to take you down or something. Every time something's going good, you got somebody wanting to, or some situation brewing in the midst, right? So that's Daniel. Here he goes, the high officials that go, we don't like this guy. I can't believe he's going to be our boss. We just conquered this, these people. He was conquered. Now we conquered his, and now, what? He keeps on going. They were talking junk about him, but they could not find no ground for complaint because he was what? Faithful. Guys, check it out. Verse is, where was that? I'm sorry, King Daniel, a little bit further, up there. They couldn't find no complaint or fault in Daniel because he was what? Faithful. They couldn't find anything on this dude because he was faithful to the king, faithful in general. So it keeps on going, and they say this, because he was faithful, and no error or fault was found in him. Then these men said, we shall not find any ground to complain on this guy, unless we find a connection with the law of his God. All they knew about this Daniel was not only was he an upright dude, talented dude, smart dude, but this guy worships another God that the Babylonians never worshipped. And he worships this God that we as Persians don't even know. So they said, maybe we can get something on him. Then these high officials and satraps came to an agreement with the king and said, King Darius, live forever. By the way, they're trying to butter up this dude. All right? I was like, hey, bro, you looking good today, king. How's it going? Live forever, man. We used to be conquering Persia, but you're the top dog in the world now. By the way, that's not true. So here he is, the number one. Number one, he is at the top of his game. And they're like, King Darius, bro. Oh, you looking good lately, bro? Oh my God, you're killing it out there. Live forever. All of these officials, now they're talking to him, the prefects and the satraps and the councils and the governors. We've been talking. We agreed that the king should establish an ordinance and enforce an injunction that whoever makes a petition to any god or man for 30 days, except you, O king, shall be cast to the lion's den. So they're saying, man, we ought to honor you, bro. You are killing it out there. We should, for 30 days, no one ought to pray to anybody, just you. Because, man, you deserve it, bro. You deserve it. You deserve it. So King Darius hears this, and King Darius says, okay, let's do it. So, and so they were saying, except you. Now, O king, establish this injunction, sign the document, so that it cannot be changed, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be revoked. So it's like a rule, like if a king sets something up, even the king has power to enforce something, but then the king doesn't have power to change it. Whatever. And so then, therefore, King Darius, guess what he did? So he signed it. He signed it. That was two people. Thank you, Say, he signed it. He signed the document. I was like, I like that idea. It'd be nice if people pray to me for about 30 days. All right, I want to be the center of everybody's attention. Daniel knew that the document had been signed. And so what did he do? He went to his house where he had windows in his upper chamber, open toward Jerusalem. He got down on his knees for 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he had done previously. Bro, old man Daniel's like an old G now. I mean, like straight thug gangster. I'm like, wait a minute. If I pray to anybody else but the king, I'm going to get thrown in the lion's den? All right, hold my sweet tea. All right, watch what I'm going to do now. And so he goes, and I'm like, and I'm going to go pray. And so what does he do? He literally goes and breaks the law. He heard, I was like, you're going to throw me in the lion's den because of what? All right. Goes to his house, 2nd floor, opens the window like he always did. Prayed again, not just 3 times because, hey, I'm going to do an extra. No, that's what he always did. See, guys, the people who set Daniel up, they knew his habits. They knew his routine. They knew, man, there's something about this Daniel. He loves this God he's talking to. Right? By the way, this right here was not just, I don't think it was just man jealousy. There was spiritual warfare going on right now, guys. See, the nation of Israel, the people of Israel, the devil and his demons had to conquer that because they were trying to kill the prophecy that through the nation of Israel, a Savior would come. So that's why they constantly wanted to erase Israel from history, from the map. Yet here is this dude, this Jew in a pagan land, right? Number 2 guy, and the Spirit is on him. And they're like, oh no. Even though some of the people were jealous, it was 100%. Demons took that as an opportunity and used those guys as vessels to say, we got to kill this guy because this dude is dangerous. This dude right here has influence. He loves God. He ain't taking crap from anybody. We got to get rid of him. And so they knew that that Daniel was going to break that law. That's why they set it up. They knew that Daniel was so faithful to his God that this wouldn't intimidate him. So he did it anyways. So this is the famous Daniel in the lion's den, if some of you guys heard it. Just to fast forward, right? What happens? They go, he prays. That same day when the people go, they go to Daniel's house because they knew what he was going to do. They see him praying, boom, arrested. They take him to King Darius. King Darius is wrecked because King Darius knew, man, the most important person in my country. I have to kill him. I can't believe I fell for this. I can't believe it, and I can't save him. There's nothing that I can do. Throw him in the lion's den, into a pit of hungry lions. And some of the story goes, the next day, the whole night, the king couldn't sleep because he was so nervous, so scared. I can't believe this. Just wrecked over and over and over again. Wakes up, pushes the thing over and screams, Daniel, you still there? Please tell me. Oh my God. Please tell me. And Daniel goes, bro, king, don't worry. I'm here. See, the angel of the Lord came down and shut the mouths of these lions. Man, I'm good. I'm still here. Things all good. And the same king who thought it was a good idea to say, hey, everybody ought to pray to me for 30 days. That same king, when he saw how God had saved Daniel, how he saw him, he went and said, the day before, hey, everybody pray to me. Now he's telling everybody, hey, everybody needs to pray to the God of Daniel because this God is for real. This God ain't nothing like the Persian God, ain't nothing like anyone else. And so listen, because he was faithful, despite the push, despite the persecution, because he remained faithful, he influenced the heart of the king who influenced the heart of the country. Yes. Guys, that's it. Do you guys know that God only needs one?
Amen.
God only needs one bold person just to stand up and take a push and say, I ain't going anywhere. Just one. God used Daniel to influence one man, and that one man happened to be the king, and that one king, bro, made it go viral. Yep. That was it. That was it. And so, so it's crazy. So here's, last time we had teenage Daniel eating veggies, and now, we got vegan Daniel when he was a teenager, and now we have old man Daniel getting thrown to lions. And what do we see? He's still the same guy. Amen. Faithful. He didn't 20, 30, 40 years taking the push, taking the persecution, taking the intimidation, and still held to his God. Amen. And here's the amazing part, see guys, the enemy knew. I believe these demons knew we got to kill this Daniel. They knew that Daniel was going to be faithful. They failed to take into account that God was also going to be faithful too. Right? And so they're like, oh, he's so faithful, he's going to break this law. We're going to kill him. These lions are going to tear him up. They failed to take into consideration that God also is faithful too. Yes. Right? And so here's Daniel. I'm pretty sure he was sitting there. I don't know about you. I mean, I freak out at cockroaches, bro. Another one just popped out of my house the other night, and it was a mission for the both of us. I'm like, oh, no, it only flies. Oh, man. Oh, that's the worst. Oh, my gosh. I was like, throw me into a closet of flying cockroaches is worse than just throwing at a lion. Oh, my God, it's the worst. And so Daniel, listen, Daniel wasn't intimidated by the lions. Why? See, he wasn't intimidated by the lions because he knew he had a connection with the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Amen. That lion roars louder. That lion got nothing. So that lion, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, guys, listen, showed up. I know. The Lion of the tribe of Judah showed up and ran alpha with all those other lions. And that was his step done mid alpha and shut all those guys down. You got to cuddle with lions for like a whole week, for the whole night. So, here's the thing, guys, that I want to tell you. Here's the thing that we can learn and see. First off, look at God. Look at what does this story tell us about our God. Okay? That our God has your back, even when your back is against the walls. Like, that's this God. Don't let that slide because that just came to me. All right, listen. This is a God. Daniel had his back against the wall, yet God still had his back. God still had his back. That's something, guys, that I want you to know. That's who he is. The more you know who he is, then you know who you are in him. And that affects the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you laugh, the way you focus, all those things. Now, and so back to this, here we put the last one, the bottom line. So here, guys, listen, Daniel knew he was in the world, but he wasn't of it. He knew that, hey, I'm serving the king, I'm doing my job. But Daniel, for all of these years, knew, hey, I'm technically a Babylonian on paper, but I'm a Jew at heart. I ain't gonna forget that. Like, I might be living amongst a people called Babylonians, but I belong to a different people. I belong to the people of God.
Yes.
And so none of this is affecting me because I know who I am in Him, because of what my God does. And my God is too good for me to trade it in for any of this. And so, guys, that's what it means to be in the world, but not of it. You know, I actually, for some of you guys, if you're not in the group Snapchat, you can find a few of us and we can kind of get you in there. I shared a link last night of a class that talked about what happens when you believe with God. All right? What happens when you are now a believer? Like, see, here's the amazing, I never saw this detail before. See, guys, if you ever heard Genesis, all right, some of you guys maybe read it, Adam was made differently than everybody else. God made Adam first by what? Check this out. He made Adam with a bunch of dirt, but then He breathed life into him. So Adam was unique. Listen, Adam was different than anything else because Adam was a combination of heaven and earth. Adam was a combination of heaven and earth.
Amen.
Yet, see, Adam failed. Adam messed up. And so, see, we needed a second Adam to do better. So Jesus stepped in. Have you ever wondered, hey, why didn't Jesus have a physical daddy? Why did it have to be a virgin birth? Because, see, Jesus had to be the combination of earth and heaven.
Amen.
So He had an earthly mother, but a heavenly father.
Amen. Fully
Fully man, fully God. And now, if you've ever read John 3:16, for God so loved the world, He gave His only Son, that whoever believes, what? Never die. Well, do you know that conversation of John 3:16 was in a conversation where Jesus says, you got to be born again. To believe and receive new life is me and you being born again. And you know what being born again is? See, guys, look, all of you, all of us, when we're born earth. We're born here. But then when you believe in Jesus, the breath of the Spirit of God fills you, and now you are a combo of heaven and earth. You are both together. You're special now. And so in the class, I had to mention this because I'm like, oh, this is too perfect. Because Daniel, guys, listen, Daniel was an ambassador. I don't know if you've ever heard of an ambassador, what an ambassador is or does, right? Ambassadors is a pretty cool job. You represent, check this out, guys, you represent a different country than the one you are in. So if I'm an ambassador of the United States, I'm off in a different country. So I can live in Colombia, right? I can live in Vietnam. I can live in Canada. But if I'm in, if you're an ambassador of the United States in a different country, you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy if you're an ambassador? Is that even though I might be stepping on Colombian soil, but if I'm an ambassador, every step I take is now American soil. That's American soil. That's American soil. That's American soil. Because you represent that country. So even if you're stepping in Vietnamese dirt, everywhere, the ground underneath your feet is technically American soil if you're an American ambassador. And not only that, because you have the backing, the full backing of the authority of the president and the army of the United States if you're an ambassador. If you need help, you don't call 911. You call SEAL Team 6. You call those guys, and they come and get you. Right? That's what you have. But hey, check this out. Have you guys ever heard of diplomatic immunity? Some of you guys would love this. This was crazy. You guys know what diplomatic immunity is? It's this. It's you, if you're an ambassador to a different country, you know what that means? That the laws of that nation don't apply to you. So if I could be in Colombia, and I'm saying, hey, I'm a ambassador for the United States, and I break the speeding limit and I break the speeding laws, do you know that the government of Colombia can't persecute me? They can't, file me, and they can't put me in jail? Because guess what? Why? I know, right? But listen, you know why? Do you know why? Because I don't belong, even though I'm living in this country. I'm in a country, but I'm not of it. These rules don't apply to me. The only rules that apply to me are for my home country. And so no one can touch you. No one can touch you. You can break any law in a different country. Yeah, don't do it. But listen, you can break any law in a foreign nation, and you'll never be arrested or charged with anything because those laws don't apply to you because you're an ambassador of a different country. So here's the thing. Guys, Daniel knew this. He was a Babylonian on the outside, but he was a Jew on the inside. He was walking in Persia, walking in Babylon, in his heart, he was walking everywhere he went. He was bringing the kingdom of God because he had that Spirit of God on him. And so that's why every time the enemy was trying to get at him, every time the enemy was trying to do something, nothing was working. Nothing was working because those laws, the rules of this world don't apply to you anymore. Because now you don't have the backing of a president. You have the backing of the King of Kings. Yo, listen, you got the backing of the U.S. military. You got the backing of the armies of heaven.
Amen.
That's what you got. And so Daniel knew it. So Daniel like, oh, you gonna throw me lines then? Oh, I'll see about that. And so, guys, here's my challenge to you, is to, hey, yo, this king got you. He got you. He loves you. He has your back, even when your back is against the wall. Even when you're back and you pushed back and your back is on the ground, he still has your back.
Amen.
And so my challenge to you is that, listen, guys, yo, be faithful to this God. Keep to this God.
Amen.
Look, some of you, like, maybe you're kind of excited about some stuff, and at least you're curious. Yo, stay curious. Keep being curious. Keep pursuing. God says, you seek me, you're going to find me. Some of you been at camp. I guarantee you by now, all the little camp fuzzies are gone. Okay? You know little camp fuzzies, right? You feel good about yourself, right? Whatever, you get the butterflies and the camp fuzzies. Oh, that's gone by now, right? Good. You know what? I'm glad. I'm glad the camp butterflies are gone. Because, see, that's superficial stuff. Like when you get there, when you go to experience and you have these highs, right? When you go to camp and you go to these experiences with God and you feel something, but then, 3 weeks later, you don't feel the same. Do you know that's okay? Do you know that's okay? Keep being faithful, even when you don't feel like it. Keep being faithful. Keep to your God. Keep praying. Keep in the Word. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. And listen, if you want to be faithful, you know the easiest way to be faithful? I said it at camp. Stay full.
Amen.
No, eat up. Eat up. If you want to stay faithful, then be full. Stay full. Eat up on God's Word. Fill up on His presence. Fill up on who He is. Keep on pursuing. Keep to your King. And be like Daniel, guys. You know what Daniel did? Daniel lived windows wide open. Right? Daniel lived windows wide open. He didn't care who saw him. He didn't care what was the matter. He says, hey, I'm here. Not for you. I ain't here for anybody else.
Yes.
My King.